So the attorney for Jordan Willis has spoken out multiple times now. And if you don't know who Jordan Willis is, we've been talking about these three Kansas City Chiefs fans that were found frozen to death in their friend's backyard. Well, the homeowner, their supposed friend, is Jordan Willis. And everyone thinks that he may have something to do with their deaths, or at the very least, it looks like he may have known that they were dead in his backyard and chose not to say anything. I don't know. All of that is to be determined. But as of right now, law enforcement says for a 100% fact that they're not looking into this as a homicide investigation. They don't expect or suspect any foul play at all. But this is a story that's so bizarre because it's just hard to believe that three grown men would freeze outside of their friend's house and their cars were right there as well. It's a really weird situation. But the attorney for Jordan Willis has been on the news multiple times. And if you ask me, he's only making his client look worse. I know that the reason he sat down to do these interviews on the news was to, I guess, try to make his client look better. Because right now in the court of public opinion, everyone is looking at Jordan Willis like he's a killer. So I understand that the lawyer is trying to get out there and get in front of some of the rumors. He's trying to get out there and, make excuses for his client, trying to show the world that his client is innocent. But in the process, he's kind of making his client look even more guilty. For example, he said that his client says that the last time he saw these three men were when they left the house. But then he turns around and says that Jordan didn't know when they left the house. So there's already conflicting stories out there, right? And as with any case, there's confusion. Some of the confusion seems to be that people don't know when this actually happened. News outlets have been reporting the wrong date. Not every news outlet, but some news outlets have been putting out the wrong information. A lot of people think that this happened during the Chiefs' first playoff game of the season versus the Dolphins. But no, this happened on January 7th. The bodies were found on January 9th. But on January 7th, during the Chiefs' last season game against the Chargers, that's when these individuals all met up to, party and watch the game. So a lot of people think that it was the weekend after, but no, that's not the case. Now, I believe it was even warmer during this weekend. So a lot of people got the temperatures messed up and everything because they don't know the exact date. So this has really been going on since January 7th. It's been going on for a while. It took a couple of weeks before the news actually started spreading. And still, even now that this news is starting to spread, law enforcement isn't really doing anything. The families are upset. And here is the weirdest part. We're about to play the clip in just a moment. Jordan Willis's lawyer sat down with News Nation and was talking to Ashley Banfield. And he reveals that there was another person in the house as well. There was another person there as well that didn't die. He's alive and well right now, just like Jordan. But none of us knew about this fifth person until now. I've watched multiple family members do multiple interviews about this situation. No one has ever mentioned that there was another person in that house. And like I said, this has been going on since January 7th. This was going on for a couple of weeks before anyone started talking about it. Yet we just now found out that there was a whole nother person in the house. The lawyer just revealed that information. And that changes a lot. Because now we're not just looking at Jordan, we're looking at this fifth person. And my question is, why in the hell did we not know this until now? That makes me feel kind of weird about the situation because I've read through many articles, I've seen interviews, we've played the news clips. There was never a single mention of another person there. But supposedly, this other person that was there would be familiar with the families of the three people who died because supposedly this is a whole friend group. So why the families never mentioned that there was a fifth person, I don't know. I don't know if they knew. But it's been revealed now. So now the question is, okay, maybe the homeowner, maybe Jordan, didn't have anything to do with it. But what about this guy? Because no matter how you look at this situation, I think it's totally reasonable to look at this and feel like something is off about it. Even if these three men weren't killed, it seems as if at the very least there may have been knowledge that they were dead, just lying back there and no one got them any help. And as I already stated, from what the attorney says, Jordan says the last time he saw them was when they left the house, but then he turns around and says, I don't know when they left the house. So that already doesn't make sense. But before I go off on a rant, because I will, I want to go ahead and play this news clip. But before we do that, I need a huge favor from all of you all. It's free. It takes 1 second. I need you to hit that like button. Let's get the likes to 3,000. Also, I need you to subscribe if you haven't already. Now, with that being said, let's roll this clip, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
First and foremost, your client, Jordan Willis, is he free and clear tonight, or is he still facing some kind of potential criminal exposure?
There was never any criminal charges. There is no case. The police have stated that this is not a homicide investigation, and they do not suspect foul play.
So he could do an interview. You'd be fine with him doing a TV interview because you now feel confident he has no concerns ahead of him.
He could do an interview if he chose to. As I advised him, as I advise all my clients, that he shouldn't say anything at this time until the investigation has been concluded.
I'm so curious about what could have possibly happened, as are so many people watching right now, as I'm sure you are, and potentially even. Do you know from speaking to your client, were there drugs involved with the party, the football watching party that night?
There are some things that I'm not going to be allowed to comment on based on confidentiality reasons. There were, in addition to the three gentlemen that are deceased, in addition to Jordan, there was one other individual that was present in the home. And I'm not going to comment on anything about the activities that were going on there other than the fact that they were there and they were socializing after the Chiefs game.
It's interesting, though, that you would bring up that there was another person there other than the three who died, the owner of the home, and then this mystery man after the question I asked about drugs. Is there a reason for that?
No, just in fact, I learned a little bit more about this other individual today. And I also, it's my understanding that he spoke with police as well and that he supported what Jordan told law enforcement and what we believe actually was going on at the time.
Has that fourth man and Jordan, have they spoken together since this tragedy unfolded?
I don't believe that they have.
And yet it's your understanding that this fourth mystery person, whose name I hope will surface soon, his account of what happened that night is directly in correlation with Jordan's account.
Sure, and he's not a mystery person. He's one of the group of friends that they watch the game with. He's known to everybody. He's known to law enforcement. So he's not a mystery person. He's somebody there. And essentially, from my understanding, everything that he told the police is in line with what Jordan told the police, even though they were interviewed separately.
I'm so glad he's not a mystery person. What's his name?
I'm not going to provide his name. If and when he chooses to go public and say his name, then he can do that. He's not my client. I don't represent him. I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, I understand. Did your client ever leave the home from Sunday night and the football game until Tuesday when they discovered the bodies in his backyard? Did he ever leave and go outside the home?
No, I don't believe that he did. He's self-employed. He works out of his home. He stayed in the home the entire time from, the basic scenario is they had watched the Chiefs game in a couple of different places. They went back to his place, his home afterwards. to play some video games and hang out. And at some point during that process, he got tired and he fell asleep. Before he fell asleep, they were going to leave. He actually escorted them to the door, said their goodbyes, opened the door. He went back on the couch and he crashed. And then when he woke up, they were gone. And during the day and a half that occurred, 2 days, I guess, because the police came in around 10 o'clock on Tuesday to his house, he was doing the things that he normally does inside of his home. And that he was sleeping, he was eating, and he was working.
Can I back up? Yeah, can I back up for a moment there? Are you saying that your client, Jordan Willis, escorted the 3 victims to the door? He showed them to the door. Did they walk out the door?
It's not that formal, Ashley. He didn't escort them. They're his friends. Okay. They've been together all day. They're leaving the house. You know, they're guys. They shake hands. They hug. See you later, bro. Whatever they did. But he left them as they were leaving the home. It's not unusual for him and his friends to spend time in each other's homes. It's not unusual for them to hang out when the other person isn't there even. And in this case, he was there. So for whatever reason, they either came back in the home or they went directly to the backyard. That part, no one knows the answer to. Jordan believes they came back in the house and hung out for a while and continued to play video games. And at some point, they went outside in the backyard.
But to be clear, they left, those 3 men left the house. Jordan saw them leave the house.
He said goodbye to them. He laid down and he crashed, and they went out the front door. Yes.
They went out the front door. He witnessed them leaving the front door of his house.
Sure. Yeah. After he said goodbye to them, he was hanging out. He went back on the couch and he slept. So at some point, they decided to either come back inside the house and hang out for a while, or they went out on the backyard and hung out, which due to the cold temperatures, I don't believe that's the case. I think they probably came back inside and continued to play video games and hang out for a while before they left.
Can you just tell me if there's anything in the backyard of interest? Is there a fire pit? Is there something? Is there a barbecue? Is there something of interest in the backyard that would have drawn them to go there?
You know, I don't know what's in the backyard. I've never been to the house. What I know is what you know from these pictures here. It was a really cold night, so I doubt that anybody would be out there socializing. You know, typically when guys are hanging out or people are hanging out at the house, people will go outside randomly to smoke or do whatever, get some fresh air, and then come back in. Other than that, I can't speculate about what else was going on out there.
So fascinating. John Paserno, I hope you'll come back. And can you just formally put a request into your client, Jordan Willis, that we'd really like to interview with him when he's ready?
Sure. And, he's as much in the dark as you are and as I am, and we all want answers to find out what happened to these lifelong, 2 of them he went to high school with. So he's known them for over 20 years. They're his friends. He's deeply hurt by their passing, and he wants answers as much as everyone does.
It's heartbreaking for these 3 families as well. I really appreciate you talking to me tonight. Thank you, John.
Good. All right. Thank you, Ashley.
As I always tell you folks, often a no comment is really a confirmation. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some substances involved in this situation. And I think a lot of us assumed that anyway. So the fact that he refuses to answer that question, it kind of tells you everything you need to know. But Ashley Banfield called it out perfectly. As soon as she started asking questions about the drugs, the lawyer immediately brings up this other person. And even though he doesn't do it directly, even though he doesn't just straight up say it, this is the lawyer kind of trying to take all of the blame and all of the attention off of his client, and he's kind of trying to shift it over to the other guy. Because why, when we start mentioning drugs and stuff like that, all of a sudden it's revealed for the first time, oh, there was another guy in the house. But as I was telling you all before I played the clip, no one had any knowledge that there was a 5th person, as far as I know. I haven't seen any information about that. I haven't seen anyone talking about that. So that's a bombshell within itself. But even the lawyer says, now mind you, this is the lawyer. He's closer to this situation than any of us. And even the lawyer is like, oh, well, I'm kind of just learning more about this guy today. What? Why would you just be learning about this information? That should have been one of the key details from the beginning. Oh, there were this many people in the house, right? But the whole time we were under the impression that there were only 4 people there. So this 5th person did a great job at keeping themselves out of it. If it wasn't for the lawyer saying something, we wouldn't even know this right now, right? So why this 5th person has been so protected, why this 5th person has been left out of the equation, maybe he has nothing to do with it, but it looks and sounds and it feels kind of fishy. And listen, folks, at the end of the day, we don't know exactly what happened here. Anything is possible. There's a chance that this homeowner, Jordan Willis, there's a chance that he has no idea what happened. And that he feels terrible that this happened to his friends. And if that's the case, I feel bad for the dude. But at the same time, in a situation like this, I rather ask questions. I rather suspect something and be wrong than to just leave this situation alone and just let it go. You know what I mean? Because it looks like there's a strong possibility that someone had the knowledge that these 3 people were dead. There's even a possibility that they had something to do with their deaths. So instead of just writing this situation off, I think it's worth looking into. I'd rather look into it and be wrong. I'd rather look into it and find out that there's nothing here than to just let it blow on by. Because if anyone just takes 2 seconds to look at these details, you're automatically going to see a lot of red flags. Your alert system, your alarm system inside of your mind is going to start going off. Wee-woo! Wee-woo! It's like that episode of SpongeBob with Patrick. A lot of you probably don't get the reference. But anyways, now we have this 5th person. Now I know everyone's mind is going to ODing. These people must have OD'd, right? But I kind of have a problem with that. Because why were they in the backyard? And everyone's body reacts to stuff differently. So even if you all took something that would ultimately kill you, it doesn't mean you're all just going to drop dead right there on the spot. It doesn't mean that you're going to take a puff of something or you're going to swallow something or you're going to sniff something and you just all 3 of you drop dead right there on the spot. Because everybody's body reacts differently. You know what I mean? I think it would be more likely that someone would start experiencing the symptoms, someone would die first, and then the other friends would try to go for help, and maybe they would eventually die as well. But for everyone to just drop dead right there in the backyard, I don't believe it. If it was 1 person, okay, but 2, 3 people? And they're right there in the backyard. They could go into the friend's house. They could go to a neighbor's. They could pull out their phone. They could go to the car. But none of that. So I'm really questioning, did these people die right there in the backyard? Were their bodies moved to the backyard? And I'm scared when it comes to this situation because I feel as if law enforcement is not really putting enough pressure on this situation to find out the truth. And I'm honestly questioning the connections that Jordan Willis has. I mean, this dude is already, I think, hopped up, got up and moved. Supposedly, he's like this molecular scientist or something. I'm sure this dude's got money. I'm wondering what connections he has. But when I look at this situation, I think there's various possibilities. And of course, the fact that someone could have some substances, like some fentanyl or something like that, that took them out. Yeah, that's totally likely. But for 3 people to just drop dead right in the backyard, I don't think that's very likely. And I don't think it's very likely that people wouldn't know, that you wouldn't know that these people are dead in your backyard for days on end. That still doesn't explain why calls were ignored, while text messages were ignored, Facebook messages, people knocking on the door, breaking into the house. All of that was ignored. So I'm trying my hardest to give this dude the benefit of the doubt, but it is very difficult. It is very difficult. And now that we have this 5th person involved that was kept a secret for an entire month, basically, now I'm questioning why in the hell did we not know about this? Why has this been left out of everything? And when given the opportunity, Jordan's lawyer kind of threw the dude under the bus. He doesn't do it directly. He doesn't come out and blame him for anything. He's smart. He just simply brings him up. Right there in the midst of Ashley Banfield questioning about drugs, he brings up this bombshell of a fifth person being there. And I'm just learning more information today. Well, hell, we're just learning too. I want to know if the families knew that that fifth person was there. And why no one has said anything about this guy. Who is this mystery man? And why has he been totally left out of the story until now? Let me know your thoughts about all of this, though, down in the comments below. If you're feeling generous, you can donate to the channel via Cash App. I'll have my Cash App in the pinned comment. You can also donate via Super Thanks, or for free, you can help the channel in many ways by liking the video, subscribing, ringing the notification bell, sharing the video on social media, and all of that good stuff. But with that being said, I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.